She leaned against the kitchen counter like we were discussing weekend plans, not detonating a marriage. Her arms were folded, her chin lifted just so, confident, polished, perfectly composed. "I'm giving you two choices," she said evenly, every syllable smoothed and deliberate. "You can either accept that I want to explore something with him, or stay out of the way while I do." For a second, I just waited for the punchline. Some flash of irony, a cruel joke half delivered. When it didn't come, I actually laughed. Not from amusement, more from disbelief. The sound felt foreign, dry, untethered. "Come again?" I asked quietly. Her sigh was the sound of someone convinced they were being patient. "I don't want this to become a fight, okay? I'm being honest here. I'm trying to do this maturely. I'm not sneaking around. I'm giving you the chance to evolve with me. Evolve with me." The phrase was rehearsed. It had that too-polished ring, the kind born from repetition, probably practiced in front of a mirror, maybe even coached by a friend. As she spoke, gesturing lightly, soothingly, it sounded less like honesty and more like a TED Talk with good lighting. "People our age are redefining relationships," she continued, her voice steady. "Sure. Monogamy isn't natural, you know that, right?" I didn't answer, just leaned back slightly, arms crossed, watching. "I've been reading, listening, reflecting," she went on, "and it's helped me realize what I want isn't wrong. It's not betrayal, it's expansion." There it was again. One of those words so buffed and shiny it meant absolutely nothing. Expansion. I still didn't respond. Because if I did right then, I might not stay calm. "This isn't just physical," she added, her voice softening into the tone she reserved for delicate truths. "There's an emotional connection, intellectual even. He understands me. In ways that you—" She hesitated, then smiled faintly. "It's not a criticism. I've just grown, and I can't shrink myself back down to fit what we used to be." He. She hadn't said a name yet, but she didn't have to. I already knew. Jonah, her boss, 42, founder of some hip urban innovation startup with reclaimed wood desks and kombucha on tap. The kind of man who wears minimalist sneakers, calls everyone my friend, and gives you the handshake of a man convinced he's both enlightened and superior. I'd met him once. He smiled at me, like a man smiles at a waiter who's taking too long. With his drink. "He makes me feel awakened," she whispered, and that's when I realized this wasn't impulsive. It was scripted. Every word chosen like a bead in one of her mindfulness bracelets. Curated, centered, glowing with false clarity. But I didn't explode, didn't slam my hand down, didn't raise my voice. I just stood up, walked quietly past her, down the hallway and into the bathroom. I locked the door. The mirror reflected back a face that looked startlingly calm. Not furious, not even broken. Focused, because something fundamental inside me had shifted. A breaker flipped. She thought this was a negotiation. She was playing philosopher, trying to look brave while standing on the edge of betrayal and calling it growth. I wasn't going to give her the drama she was hoping for. I wasn't going to be the tired trope of the devastated husband begging for relevance. She could keep her vocabulary of expansion and evolution. I had my own language now. Action. That night, she came to bed like nothing in the world had ruptured. Like we'd just talked over budget cuts or weekend chores. She even reached for my hand out of habit. And I let her. I needed her to think she still had control. That I was too stunned or too weak to act. She wanted to believe she still had the moral high ground. She was wrong. All of it was wrong. Over the next few days, she treated me like a case study in emotional progress. "You'll see," she said one evening, showing me an article about ethical non-monogamy. "Real love isn't about possession, it's about expansion." That word again. She shared podcast clips, infographics, success stories about open marriages that somehow made everyone happier. "If you love me," she said one night, "you'll grow with me. This doesn't have to be a loss. It can be an upgrade." I nodded at all the right moments, said, "I'll think about it," more times than I could count, smiled when expected, and all the while I watched. Not just her, but the quiet ways she stopped pretending. The most dangerous part wasn't her infidelity. It was her transparency. She wasn't lying anymore. She was proudly rewriting the definition of lies. She didn't think she was cheating. She thought she was evolving. And to her, I was just outdated software still running in the background. That's fine, I thought. Outdated systems can still rewrite code. So while she built her fantasy of free love and open communication, I started building something else. Option 3. She thought I was coming around, making peace with her new truth. It was easy to fake, listening intently to all her theories about liberation and autonomy. pretending to take notes, pretending to reflect. The more agreeable I became, the bolder she got. She started being careless, dropping names, dates, even logistics, assuming I was safely disarmed. That's when I found the perfect window. While she was in the shower one evening, steam curling under the door, I installed a silent mirroring app on her phone. A ghost that quietly cloned her text logs, calendar, cloud notes, and messages. I didn't do it out of jealousy. Not even revenge. I did it because truth matters. Because if she was going to rewrite our life like a manifesto, I needed the unedited version, and when the data started coming through, the illusion shattered completely. Jonah, her boss, the enlightened messiah of conscious success, had her saved in his phone as Wife 2.0. She had him saved as my becoming. That alone could have killed whatever scraps of affection I had left. But I wanted more. Not vengeance. Clarity. Their messages were full of smug pseudo-philosophy about emotional truth and sexual freedom, wrapped in juvenile giddiness. Two adults convincing themselves they were visionaries instead of adulterers. "So are we set for next weekend?" Jonah texted. Her reply came fast, yes. He's softening. I told him I needed a few days for a personal retreat. And he actually said he understood. Can you believe that? Below that message, an entry on her calendar. RKM Guest House. A single note under it. Temporary stay until things shift. That's when it hit me. She wasn't planning a fling. She was planning a transition. A slow disappearance disguised as self-discovery. No confrontation, no papers. Just a fade-out, returning only if the expansion didn't fit. Her escape plan was well underway. She made her move on a Thursday evening, about a week later. We were sitting on the couch, the television murmuring nonsense in the background. "So," she said offhandedly, "I'll be doing an off-site project next week. Jonah wants the creative team to spend a few days brainstorming in a retreat setting. It's immersive. You know how startups get, team culture and all that?" She winked. "Sometimes hands-off becomes hands-on." I smiled like an idiot. "Sounds fun," I said casually. "Want help packing?" That caught her, just a flicker. But she smiled again, relieved. "Actually, yeah, that would be nice." I helped her fold her outfits, watched her choose the perfect mix of effortless and irresistible. Casual dresses, soft sweaters, her favorite perfume. I stayed calm, even affectionate. She looked at me a little too long then, expecting resistance, hoping for it maybe. I gave her none. "You'll kill it," I said softly. "Show them what expansion really looks like." Her smile was bright, grateful. She kissed my cheek. "That means a lot." That night, after the car pulled away, I turned on my laptop. Everything was waiting, saved, organized, time-stamped. Her messages, her plans, even snippets recorded through the home assistant when she'd taken calls while I was out. And one audio file stopped me cold. It wasn't Jonah's voice. It was Jamie's, her best friend. At first, I thought she was just coaching her through the euphemisms, playing emotional support. But the laughter, the pause, the tone. "You sure he bought it?" Jamie's voice asked. "Totally," my wife said, breathless. "God, I feel like I'm on fire right now. Like I'm finally living for me." "You are, babe," Jamie replied smoothly. "Jonah's obsessed, by the way." "Oh, I know. You would know, right?" A laugh. "Hey, we all expand in our own directions," Jamie said, voice dripping with irony. I froze. Jonah wasn't expanding. He was collecting. My wife, her friend, an entire ecosystem of enlightened betrayal held together by vanity and buzzwords. It wasn't love. It was performance art for narcissists. And even then, I didn't scream. Didn't throw anything. Didn't drink. I backed everything up. Labeled folders, sorted timestamps. Then I did one simple, deliberate thing. I wrote a message, short, polite, professional, to Jonah's wife. No attachments yet. Just an introduction, a hint of shared timelines, a courteous note suggesting we compare calendars. Some information she might find helpful. Then I clicked send, shut the laptop, and went. To bed, I slept better that night than I had in months, because now I'd leverage by Friday morning her side of the closet looked cleaner. Not empty, just neater. A little more curated-like. She'd picked her favorites and left theirs as an afterthought. It reminded me of the way people clean their desks when they're not sure if they're coming back to work. She left a post-it on the bathroom mirror before heading out, gone for a few days. "Don't wait up, don't stress. I love you just differently now there." It was again carefully weaponized language, not cruel, not blunt, just vague, enough to shield her from accountability. Everything was always justified with her now. It wasn't infidelity. It was freedom. Not abandonment, just transition. But she didn't know. I'd already stowed being her safety net. She thought she was balancing between two options. She didn't realize option 3 was already in motion. The first step wasn't legal. It wasn't even loud, it was practical. I pulled out 3 large moving boxes, labeled them clearly closet desk books. I filled them carefully, not punished, just to clarify nothing broken. Nothing missing, just packed. Her mail was sorted, and set aside her favorite coffee mug, washed and wrapped. Wedding photos from the hallway were removed and laid gently in a folder. I changed nothing. Dramatic just enough so that when she came back she'd feel it, that Lowell trimmer in the chest when, a chapter is closed but you're the last one to notice. Then I scheduled a meeting with a realtor, quietly, just to evaluate options. It wasn't a threat, I wasn't kicking her out. I was just making sure the foundation she assumed was stable. Had already shifted. Meanwhile, Jana's wife responded. Her reply was short, calm, way too calm. Thank you for this. You're not the first, you won't be the last, but you might be the last to stay silent. We had a 15-minute call later that night. No tears, no emotional outbursts. Just 2 strangers comparing notes and dates like we were reviewing spreadsheets she'd been documenting. His affairs for years never had concrete names. I gave her 1, actually 2 1/3 if you count. Jamie, she asked me one question near the end. You still want to save it? I thought about it for a long moment before he answered. No, I want her to see the fire she lit from the outside. She didn't respond. Just said she had what she needed and hung up back at home. I stayed. Quiet, didn't talk to friends. Didn't post cryptic updates or fish for advice. Instead, I watched the hours pass, monitored her phone locks. She texted me on, said she hoped I was reflecting and letting go of the old model. What she didn't know is that I'd let go of her days ago. She wasn't returning to the man she left, she'd be coming home to a stranger and her little arrangement with Jonah. It wasn't just a fantasy anymore. It was a footprint, a trail, a receded road map of lies and betrayal. The best part, she didn't see it coming. Not because I was sneaky, but because she didn't believe I could be. She thought she'd taken my spine when she took my trust. What she really took was my silence, and silence is a funny thing. It can feel like surrender. But in the right hands, it's just calm. Before precision, the night before, she was supposed to come back. I poured myself a drink and stood by the window watching the neighborhood wind down. I didn't feel angry or broken or jealous. I felt clear for the first time in months. I understood exactly what I needed to do, and more importantly, what I no longer had to tolerate. The charade was over. All I had to do now was let her walk back into the mess she made, thinking she still owned the place. Let her see the photos were gone. Let her see the boxes stacked neatly in the hallway. Let her see my posture had changed, my eyes, my tone. Let her see that the rules were different now. Let her try to negotiate. When option 3 was already signed, sealed and waiting at the front door, she walked in like she still lived here, rolling suitcase behind her, oversized cardigan draped over her shoulders, hair swept back like she just stepped out of some breezy Airbnb retreat. She even brought that artificial stillness with her, the kind you were after cheating on someone but telling yourself it was for the greater good. I heard the door open from upstairs, didn't rush down. I wanted her to absorb the house before she saw me, the missing photos, the boxed up memories, the sudden emptiness of shared space. She noticed. Babe, she called out, the tone still so casual, like we were married in a different language now, like we just needed a day or two to recalibrate. When I stepped into the room, she gave me a half smile. It didn't reach her eyes, probably couldn't. I'm home, she said. I looked at her for a long second before replying, no, you're visiting. She blinked. What? I nodded toward the boxes. Uke. Find everything labeled. If anything's missing, let me know. I kept the expensive heels and second chance. Journal separate just in case you wanted to expand somewhere else. That's when her face changed. Not anger, not guilt, confusion. You're serious? She asked. Very. You said you were processing. I cuttin' and now I'm done. She crossed her arms like she had in the kitchen that day. Tried to reset the power dynamic with posture, but it didn't work anymore. Eric, she said, stepping forward, lowering her voice, like she was diffusing a child. I thought we were working through this. Thought you understood what I needed. Stepped back. You don't get to reframe this as a Shar journey. I said you left to sleep with your boss and told me it was evolution. You lied. About where you were going, who you were going with, and how long it would be. That's not growth. That's a cover charge for betrayal. Her jaw tightened. I didn't lie. You called ITA Project a retreat, a team-building immersion. I watched you pack lingerie and perfume for your creative strategy team. Come on, she faltered. Okay, so maybe I wasn't honest about everything, but I didn't cheat. You said you were open. D in ever said I was open. I snapped. I was quiet. That's not the same thing. Her voice rose. You could have told me you were uncomfortable. I didn't need to. I said you already knew. You just didn't care. That hit harder than I expected. She looked away, blinking faster now, chest rising and falling like she was trying to steady herself. I didn't want to hurt you, she said softly. But you did repeatedly, and not just with him. She froze. That was my C. You really think you were the only one expanding? I asked you, think I wouldn't notice the calls to Jamie, the way she started coaching you through the plan. How the two of you sounded like you were prepping for a TED Talk on betrayal. Her eyes widened. You listened to everything, every smug word, including the part where Jonah told you. He liked that I was so-domesticated. I'd never fight back. She turned pale. I saw the guilt finally arrive too late, too small. And you know what the funniest part is, I added, you weren't even exclusive in your cheating. You were just one of his little spiritual partners. Guess who else was warming his bed? She didn't answer. Jimmy, I said. That broke her. She took a step back. No, she wouldn't, she told me. She told you what she needed to. So you'd keep being useful. She played you just like you did you. Thought you were building something enlightened. But all you really built was a playlist of justifications for people who never loved you. She sat down, couldn't even hold herself up anymore. Her hands were shaking. Now, Eric, I said you don't get to explain. You made your choices. Now you get your boxes and your silence. She wiped at her eyes. Please, can we talk about this tomorrow? Just not like this, please. I think Jonah's wife already started the conversation for us. I said. Her head shot up. What? She knows. I said flatly. Everything. You're not the first, but you might be the last to surprise her. Her lip trembled. You told her. I didn't tell her. I said. I showed her for the first time. She didn't have reply. Just open silence and a 1,000-yard stare. I let it sit, then I turned, walked to the door, and opened it wide. You wanted choices. I said. This one's yours. I didn't hear from her for a week. No calls, no texts, just silence. I didn't chase her. I didn't need to. She packed her things that night, took what she could carry, left the rest. I kept it all boxed in the guest room, labeled and untouched. The house felt better without her in it, quieter. Yes, but not lonely, just honest. That was a new feeling. The reckoning came a week later. I got the invite from her sister, an unexpected text asking me to stop by her parents' house for a conversation. The tone was pleasant, civil. But I knew what it really meant. They were circling the wagons. I almost declined, but something in me said it needed to happen. Not for them, for me. Her parents lived 20 minutes away in one of those curated cul-de-sacs with identical mailboxes, and an hoe that cared more about lawn symmetry than human decency. When I arrived, the whole crew was there. Her mom, her dad, her sister, and of course her. She looked smaller. Somehow. Diminished, not broken. Just stripped of all that borrowed confidence she used to wear like armor. Her father spoke first. We just want to understand, he said. Because from what we've heard, you blindsided her. You kicked her out without a conversation. Her mother nodded. Marriage is work, not a contract. You shred the second things get difficult. And then her sister added, voice dripping with that too polite condescension. You were always as kind of traditional, Eric, but maybe if you listen more supported, her evolution, things wouldn't have escalated. I didn't react right away. I just sat there listening to them rewrite history in real time. Then I pulled out my phone. I didn't play the recordings. I didn't show them screenshots or videos. I didn't need to. Instead, I opened a folder of photos, dozens of images I'd quietly taken over the past few months. One of her standing at the front door, suitcase in hand, grinning while texting Jonah. One of her calendar with RKM guest house underlined, and color-coded one of the post-it notes she left behind. I love you, just differently. Now then, I opened my notes app and read aloud a message she sent to Jamie. He's either too weak to stop me or too loyal to walk either way. This is freedom. I set the phone down. I didn't blindside her. I said she spent weeks planning how to disappear while keeping the benefits of staying. She didn't ask for understanding. She asked for permission to humiliate me with style. Her father cleared his throat. People make mistakes. She didn't trip and fall into another man's bed. Interrupted. She drafted an itinerary, booked lodging, bought lingerie, recruited her best friend, spent days texting about how exciting it felt to reinvent betrayal as self-care. I leaned forward slightly, and she only regrets it now because the man she gambled everything on was also sleeping with the friend she trusted most. Her castle was built on quicksand, and I refused to drown just so she could pretend it was a hot tub. The room went quiet. Her mother folded her arms. "So you're done?" Then I looked at my wife. She didn't speak, didn't plead. She just stared at the floor, tears gathering, but never falling. "Yes," I said, "I'm done with being the villain in a story. I didn't write, I'm done carrying the weight. While everyone else experiments with who they want to be, I stood up. You wanted to understand now. You do." Then I turned to leave. As I reached the door, her sister called after me, voice lower. "Now, Eric, you really loved her, didn't you?" I paused, hand on the doorknob. "I did," I said. "But she made me choose between sharing her or watching her sleep with someone else." I turned back just long enough to finish. "So I picked option 3. I told her to start packing before I rearranged his smug little empire, and with that I walked out, not just from the room, from the whole damn story." Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.